Hi, I'm Garry, and this is my presentation for analyzing the problem. My outline of topics today will be my introduction, my purpose statement, the psychosocial health and well-being of students, positives of physical activity, can exercise be a negative thing, negative effects of exercise on the body, student eligibility, and relevance to athletic training. The purpose of my topic is to determine if there is a relationship between participation in extracurricular athletics and higher grade point averages in students. The purpose of this is because schools in Pennsylvania are cutting their budgets, are in budget crunches, and they're cutting athletics as a way of saving money. This is a concern because they are going to pay to play fees or participation fees to try to help offset those costs, or they're just cutting their programs altogether. The short-term purpose of that is to increase faculty in their core subjects. They're not understanding the long-term ramifications to their students. Psychosocial health and well-being of students is the effects of athletics and extracurricular athletics and exercise goes beyond the classroom. It's a sense of belonging. It gives kids a sense of teamwork. It allows them to be able to work together. It gives them confidence in the classroom to ask questions and be able to do their work. It includes social skills, which kids are lacking these days as the technology continues to increase, and overall healthier lifestyles. As the childhood obesity numbers continue to be on the rise, this is never a more important topic of discussion. Positive physical activity, the amount of physical activity that the child gets, it all depends on the intensity. The higher the intensity, the less exercise that they need to have, or the less time that they need to be focusing on the exercise. And that's all determined by their heart rate. The higher the heart rate goes, the higher the respirations go, the more intense the workout. So they can do it for less times of the week. Athletics gives students a number of options to do that, even within a sport of itself. If we take football, for example, we know there are all heavier days in football where there are full pads, more conditioning, and then there are lighter days before games, and even days of games for JV players that may not play. They may not even have any type of cardiorespiratory benefit from the game. Can exercise be a negative? Not so much the exercise itself, but participation in extracurricular activities sometimes has a negative connotation to it. And unfortunately, with any positive, there are negatives. Faculty members may look down upon athletes as well as community members, thinking that extracurricular activities has no part in school, that it needs to be, that money should be used for academics, to be purchased for books, school supplies, and things like that. Another issue is special treatment for athletes. We see this at the university level sometimes, where the NCAA investigates a school for students taking classes or tests for student athletes, or writing papers for them, or even where the professors become involved. Unfortunately, there are also negative aspects of exercise on the body. Too much of a good thing is not always good. There are things that happen to the body with too much exercise. One thing, it could be a decrease in immune system function, which might allow a student to get sick more easily, which will allow them to, which unfortunately would make them miss school, and it's hard to make up that work sometimes. Chronic negative energy balance. This situation is normally associated with individuals that have anorexia nervosa, but it's where the body is so used to using calories, it just uses them without even really needing to use them to do things. And then there's an insufficient amount of sleep. We all know that sleep is an important part of our health. Studies have shown that it's important to have at least, especially for adolescents, have a minimum of 7 hours of sleep. And sometimes that's hard with our athletes as they get home late from school, especially in the high school level, expected to be in school by 7:30 or even earlier the next morning, when they're not getting home to 10 or 11 o'clock at night and may still have schoolwork to do. Even as adolescents get older, as they mature, their sleep patterns change to the point where some studies have shown that they even should start high school later for those students. Eligibility. I'm focusing on the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association, otherwise known as the PIAA. These are the minimum qualifications for a student to be academically eligible. The individual school district determines the number of what is considered a credit or not. In order for a student athlete to be considered eligible, they must maintain a minimum of 60% in 4 credits worth of class. They have weekly eligibilities, which run Sunday to Sunday, regardless of the number of school days in that week. They also have marking period eligibilities determined by the number of semesters that are in that school. So if a school has 2 semesters, if a student fails a class, they are ineligible for 15 school days. If the school has trimesters and they fail a course, they are ineligible for 10 school days. Most schools do require their students to carry more than 4 credits at a time. At York County School of Technology, we change a little bit because we are a technical school. If a student is failing their technical area at all, they are automatically academically ineligible. The relevance to athletic training. From the Pennsylvania Athletic Training Society in 2011, the total number of members in the state of Pennsylvania totaled 1,789. Out of those, 347 labeled their primary setting as secondary setting, 577 labeled their primary setting as a clinical setting. We can assume that some of those are probably part of an outreach program. If all these school districts would cancel their athletic programs and would go to a more club and AAU based focus, and unfortunately some of my athletic director friends said their school districts are already tossing this idea around, we could risk losing over 12% of the athletic trainers in the state of Pennsylvania could lose their jobs if they went more to a club-based or AAU-based focused athletic structure, which would eliminate the financial burden on the school. As we're moving forward, I've already received permission from my administration to do this project. I'm in the process of developing the survey currently. Because I am working with students and humans, I must seek A.T. Still University IRB approval. I will be administering the survey in Spring Block 1 of 2017, doing the review very closely after that of the data, and I'll be compiling all that information to be completed in Spring Block 2 of 2017. My reflection questions. Would it be an added advantage to me to separate the responses into male and females, or just look at the school as a whole? My school has 1,700 total students currently. I'm hoping at least 1,000 usable surveys I can get. Is that too many, not enough, or is that not something that I should really be worried about? And the last question is, should I take the time to personally go out and find each student's GPA, or should I put it in a range? Put a range in the survey that the students answer that question. So I'm looking forward to your feedback. I have an idea of what I'm looking for with these answers, but I'm interested in yours. Take care. Look forward to hearing from you.